VeloFix is your answer for all of your bicycle needs. VeloFix.com. Bikes, parts, and service. Located in more than 48 cities and growing, VeloFix is the fastest growing bicycle repair business on wheels. They'll go to your home as well as your office for anything that you need. Check them out at VeloFix.com.
14 miles in, we saw you go for that first effort before the KOM. Was your plan to hit it and leave those guys, or just take the KOM points?
You talking to the right guy?
Yeah.
What's my name?
This is the SoCal Cycling Podcast with Brian Coe.
SoCal cyclist, and I'm assuming that's Southern Calcutta. Just kidding. Probably Southern California.
Of course it is, so join us for the next episode. Welcome to the SoCal Cyclist Podcast, the podcast that brings you the people and practice of the Peloton. I'm your host, Brian Coe, and if you stick around till the end of the episode, you'll get to find out who that case of mistaken identity was with that cyclist. Of course, we're talking about the 2018 Amgen Tour of California. We were there for a couple of days, covering the race. We couldn't spend the entire time at the race, unfortunately, so we did the most with what we had, and we covered the first stage, which started in Long Beach and finished in Long Beach as it was a circuit race, and the second stage, which started in Ventura County and finished in Santa Barbara at the top of the famed Gibraltar climb. We were there to cover all of the action, and it was really, really interesting getting in there, finding out what was going on with the cyclists. I got there on Friday, the day before stage one, for the team presentation. And if you were there or even know what was going on, it was a cold and rainy day in SoCal. A lot of the riders who were in California for the very first time didn't realize it was going to be that cold. They thought it was going to be nothing but blue skies. But during the team presentation, they were greeted to a little bit of rain. And we stayed at this hotel, which is right across from the venue. And in the hotel lobby, there were lots of journalists, fans, and of course cyclists walking around, signing autographs, getting coffee, lounging around. And it was a great place to see the cyclists, obviously, as they were getting ready for stage one of Tour of California. This year's Tour of California goes from Southern California and finishes in Northern California. So they had the south to north route, amazing stages, and I think it was a well put together race. There was so much going on, and you can tell this race is not like any other. It's a world tour race, and it brought the best racers from around the world. A couple of things we noticed as we were in the pits. I was joined by photographer and assistant Lauren Diaz. As we were walking around, there's definitely a lot of buzz going on between certain cyclists. Obviously, a lot of the teams can't take their personal team vans that are housed in Europe, and so they had to rent RVs and put their magnets and logos on the side. But you walk around and you see a crowd of people, obviously near certain campers, as they were getting ready to get a glimpse and maybe an autograph of some of their favorite riders. Now, the biggest, most popular, hands down, most sought after rider is, of course, Peter Sagan. He's got the most stage wins. He's current world champion. Everywhere he walks, he's got a crowd following him. Let's not forget there's other cyclists too. Mark Cavendish, Marcel Kittel, a lot of the American riders, of course. It's sort of their Tour de France, but hands down, Peter Sagan is the most popular person at the race. In fact, in Long Beach, he had his own fan corner where, there's a Slovak flag flying and a bunch of people just rooting for him. And I think it's good for the sport. I think guys and characters like him bring a lot to the sport, and he's a great ambassador for it. He's unapologetic, and he's also someone who is very, very, very difficult to interview. So we went ahead and checked out stage one.
So we're right before the start of the stage and the race, obviously. What's going through your mind right now?
I'm just excited it's finally here. It's been a long wait, and I'm just really excited to get it started.
Last year it was a couple of stage wins for you. Are you looking to meet or exceed that this year? Is the pressure on, or are you just taking it one stage at a time?
I think it'd be difficult to exceed that, but yeah, there's pressure. I want to do well, but I think I don't even need to win one stage for the race to be a success. I just want to make the most of the opportunities that present themselves and, yeah, just try to have a good race. It's kind of difficult to quantify what that would look like, but, yeah, I just want to do the best I can, I guess.
And then this year, do you think you're more of a marked rider compared to your past performances?
A lot of people have been asking that. I'm not sure really. You'd have to ask the other guys if they're marking me or not, but I guess we'll find out in the next couple of days. But I would imagine so, probably a little bit.
I'll ask him.
Okay.
That is rally cycling's Evan Huffman. He had a successful tour in 2017, and he's one of the top riders for the American squad. He was hopeful going into stage 1 of Tour of California, and like he said, he's not sure if he's a marked rider, but he's somebody who is a force to be reckoned with because he's had a couple of stage wins in previous iterations. He's a great guy, and we wish him the best for the rest of the 2018 rally cycling season. Another American in the race but made the jump to World Tour level is Trek Segafredo's Kiel Reinen. We talked to him prior to the stage.
How are you doing today before the big stage in the race?
Excellent.
Yeah? What's your prep been coming up to this?
I went up to Lake Tahoe with Pete Stetna and to his cabin up there and trained hard and had a good time. Went paddleboarding, explored the mountains, and we definitely had a lot of good adventures.
Nice. And how do you think either the stage today or the race is going to play out for you and your team this year?
It's definitely a top level sprint peloton here.
Bunch sprint or
Yeah, I mean,
breakaway?
for myself or
Yeah.
for the I think today is pretty much guaranteed bunch sprint, but we have all the Tour de France sprinters here, so I think it'll be really hard for Break to stay away with that many teams motivated to keep it together.
One of the teams that is more at home in Europe rather than California is the French AG2R team. They had a super strong squad headed by Matthias Frank, former Swiss national champion and their GC rider. Here's what they had to say.
Matthias, welcome to the Tour of California. How's your season going so far?
Yeah, it's pretty alright. Had I think a decent spring, really good training in winter, and already had some decent results in spring. But I was mostly supporting other guys, helping Romain Bardet in some races, and now it's I think. We start the more important part of the season for myself, so feeling good.
What are your personal goals for the Tour of California?
I mean, I was here. I was top 5 here already when it wasn't World Tour, so I think the level for sure is a lot higher nowadays. But I hope, I hope to do a good result on GC.
Are you looking more at tomorrow's stage, the Gibraltar stage?
Yeah, tomorrow will be one of the decisive stages of this race. So,
And is it? Do you think that this is good preparation for? You plan on doing the Tour de France and?
Yeah, for sure. It's part of my build up to the tour, and for other guys as well. So, for sure, it's a very important race on the calendar. Also, looking at what's coming up next in June, July.
For some of the younger Americans who've made it to the World Tour level, they represent their teams on home soil. We talked to 2 riders in particular, Nielsen Pellis of Lotto Jumbo NL team and Lawson Craddock of EF Drapac presented by Cannondale team.
Welcome to Tour of California, another year. How are you feeling this year?
Yeah, feel pretty good. Feel pretty confident. Last time I was here was really great, and I think I'm coming into this year with a lot more experience, and definitely think in terms of just the Gibraltar stage, raced out a bit smarter, or just being able to capitalize on some any chances to gain ground. So
Is that the stage you're kind of looking at the most out of all the stages?
I think that's going to be the most decisive stage for me, whether or not I'll be able to really have a good shot with an overall win or podium, because I mean, if I can stay within a good time frame from the leaders on Gibraltar, or even be with the leaders on Gibraltar, then I'm really confident with my time trialing capabilities. So I just have to make it to the time trial in a good spot, and I think from then on I can really be a threat for the overall.
Is there any pressure on Lotto, since George took it last year, to sort of keep it going within the team?
I don't think you can put too much pressure on us. I mean, 21 years old as the leader of this team, and there's definitely some more experienced older riders here, and I think some of the pressure is maybe going to be on Mitchelton or Sky or BMC probably the most, with 2 cars to play. But yeah, in terms of, I mean, I have pressure on myself, but just in order to try and finish it off for the team. But I mean, I don't think we should really be feeling too much pressure from other teams. Yeah.
Lawson, welcome to Tour of California this year. How are you feeling? We're on the sort of minutes before the start. What's going through your mind?
Oh man, no, I'm just excited to get this race going. We've been here for about 5 or 6 days now, and at this point, I'm just ready to go. It's always fun to be back in the States and racing. It's my 7th year doing this race, and I really feel like I've grown up with the race. You know, I wouldn't be the rider I am if I didn't take part in it 7 years ago.
And of all the stages, are you mostly looking at the Gibraltar stage for you?
Yeah, I think this year's route offers really a complete route. You have stages for sprinters, breakaways, time trialists, climbers, and there's not really one day that you can turn your brain off and take it easy. So obviously the Gibraltar stage will be huge, the time trial stage will be huge, but I think you really have to look at the Tahoe stage as well. It's going to be a complete race of attrition, and
As the riders do their final prep, the race announcer at the start line does their best to be part DJ, race announcer, and really get the crowd excited for the week and stage ahead.
And now, brace yourself for a heavy hitter here at the Amgen Tour. Representing the United Arab Emirates team.
With the formalities done and the race underway, the spectators are treated to an American-styled criterium course. 2 riders went clear and stayed away almost the entire race, only to be swallowed up towards the very end, and the crowds are treated to a massive sprint finish. For many, this is a first test to see what riders are going to be sprinting at the Tour de France, as the top sprinters in the world were at the race. Fernando Gaviria of the Edix Quick-Step team took the top honors, but of course, all the major sprinters such as Marcel Kittel, Peter Sagan, and Mark Cavendish were all in the mix. After the stage is where the real action begins. Here's the interesting part. I'm part of the media, and like many parts of the media, they're standing away and further back from the finish line to try and get an interview with some of the riders. Standing next to many of the media is the team staff and soigneurs who are trying to give the riders recovery drinks and cold drinks and even warmer clothes to put on so they can recover immediately. And then on top of that, you have security standing there getting ready to push either fans or media away if they're getting too close. Also, speaking of fans, they're queuing up to try and get pictures, water bottles, autographs, anything they can from the riders when they stop. And of course, the riders are exhausted as soon as they cross the finish line. So before the riders finish, everyone's just standing there knowing they have a job to do, and people are actually pretty friendly with each other. We talk, we joke, we make predictions of who's going to win the stage. But then as soon as the riders cross the finish line, all friendship and camaraderie is over and all bets are off because everybody's trying to do a specific job that is sometimes contrary to the objective that the security or staff members or media is trying to do. And then it all starts over the very next day. It's a very intricate and interesting dance, but something that a lot of people don't realize. And of course, amidst all that chaos, we navigated the crowds and all the other people to try and talk to the riders and got their impressions after stage 1 of the Amgen Tour of California.
Oh, bloody hard at the end.
Yeah. Did you know you were going to catch the breakaway the whole time?
Yeah, this was pretty predictable because only 2 guys up the front. It's against like 5-6 real good sprinter teams. It's almost impossible to stay up front.
Are you looking more forward to tomorrow's stage, more altitude?
For sure, there would be bigger opportunities for breakaways, but as it's the GC is still open and some really good climbers are here, they don't gonna miss the chance to go for the stage win.
Okay. That is AG2R Sylvain Dillier. He's not used to that style of racing. He's definitely more a rider for the classics. In fact, if you watch the 2018 Paris-Roubaix, he and Peter Sagan stayed away in the breakaway to finish 1 and 2 in the velodrome. We also talked with 2 Southern California residents and teammates on the rally cycling team. Brandon McNulty, the youngest of the riders, is making a huge inroads into becoming a GC contender for bigger races. Tour of California definitely suited him, and we're going to watch for him in years to come. The other rider we talked to was Rally's own Robin Carpenter, who's been a previous guest on the show. They gave their thoughts after the stage.
You know, the breakaway stayed away pretty much 90%.
Yeah, it was a pretty relaxed day as we hoped. I mean, the course showed it was obviously going to most likely be a field sprint. So, yeah, the main goal for Rob and I and Evan were just to stay safe and then let our fast guys, have a shot at the stage while we just, save it for tomorrow and the rest of the week.
How did the legs feel after only the first stage of this race?
They felt like they do normally on the first day. They definitely were a little closed up, but tomorrow they should be good. Today was a nice, a little warm up.
And what's your plans for tomorrow's stage?
Just see how good I can go, see how far up the climb I can make it with the leaders, and then just
no limits,
play by ear. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Maybe this guy too. He's the one that pulled a top 10.
Yeah, stage 1 is over. How did it go out there for Rally?
Pretty good. I felt. I mean, skipped the early break because seemed a little bit of futile effort today, and then just waited around, waiting for the sprint, inevitable sprint.
Did you know you were gonna any point in the race like you thought they were gonna stay away?
No, absolutely not.
You had it in the bag.
Yeah, 2 guys, never gonna happen.
How are the legs feeling for tomorrow's Gibraltar stage?
Well, good, they'll be good enough to get Britton and Brandon to the bottom of the climb, and that's about all I can hope for.
And your role is to take them there, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, make sure they're safe on that run-in. It's going to be a little bit dodgy. Got a lot of corners. It's a little less familiar to everybody than last year, or 2 years ago, rather.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, one of the few stages left in SoCal. We got tomorrow and then Monterey. So good luck.
Thanks, man.
One of the elder statesmen of the sport, 2016 Paris-Roubaix winner Mitchelton Scott rider Matthew Heyman finished the stage and gave us his thoughts about racing in the United States.
Okay. How did the stage go today for the first stage of Tour of California?
Oh, look, that break went pretty easy, and it was a bunch sprint that we expected. Gaviria won, I believe, so good win from him, and pretty straightforward until the last lap, and then it was pretty messy out there, a lot of fresh legs.
Did the peloton let the breakaway stay away because the time gaps went up and down, or were you trying to just slowly?
Yeah, look, I was riding today, and we had it pretty under control, so we just wanted to make it as easy as we could for ourselves. It's a long week. It might not have been the most exciting race out there, but
it was.
It came down to it. It was the sprint we expected, sprint royale with some top names. So, it's a long week. We got to get all the way to Sacramento, I believe. So.
After the riders have had a chance to recover and get changed, it's always customary to get the top finishing riders into the very brief but all-important press conference where the only people allowed are the riders, some of the team staff, and of course the reporters that can ask questions. For the first stage, we were joined by Caleb Ewan, Fernando Gaviria, as well as Tanner Putt, who got the most aggressive rider.
Riders in second place. We have two young guys here up on the podium in a field of strong sprinters. Talk about your race and kind of the final push at the end.
Yeah, it was a pretty straightforward race today. It was obviously just on circuits, and it was a pretty hectic finish because it wasn't too hard during the day, and it's the first stage, so there's kind of a lot up for grabs. And yeah, it was a pretty hectic final, but my team did a great job and got me to where I needed to be to do the sprint. And yeah, congrats to Fernando, he did a great sprint, and yeah, it was a good day.
Tanner, you kind of let out from the start. How are you feeling? And kind of talk us through your strategy today.
Yeah, it was first move of the day at K0. Ended up going, and it was just me and a rider from Hincapie. The plan was just to get myself in the break, try to take some of the sprint points, and yeah, just give the guys a bunch of free ride for the day. So yeah, it worked out, and yeah, long day. I think the peloton kind of eased up. We never really rode full. We like once the field never gave us over about 2 minutes, we kind of just knew that it was just a matter of time until they brought us back. So I think that was more just the field kind of realizing they got too close to us, and so they just eased up a little bit.
Thanks.
Caleb, could you talk about the challenge of sprinting against some teams and riders here in the American peloton that you don't see too often on the World Tour stage?
Yeah, I guess there's when you go to different countries, like when we're in Australia as well, there's kind of like a lot of good sprinters there that you never race all year, and then you get to that country, and they're guys that maybe are dominating in the States or wherever it is, and I guess it's not really a surprise, but you don't know which ones are going to be good and which ones are going to be up there, or which ones are going to be just in your way, or I guess it's something that while I'm here you will kind of see like which ones or which of the American riders are quick, and yeah, but it's not something that we really focus on when we come to a different country. But yeah, there's always definitely guys that are up there.
Fernando, Caleb described the sprint as hectic, chaotic. Did you also find it that way, or did your sprint training protect you from that?
Yeah, I don't understand really the question, but I think for me it's better when my team work for me because it's more easy. When I go in the other train, it's too difficult because it's more pressure in the other times, and somebody won't stay there in my wheel, or it's really difficult. But for this, I try always with my team work. Is this or no? Good? Okay.
Next question over here. Caleb, how would you compare your lead-out training with Fernando's at the moment? Are they comparable?
Yeah, for sure. I got dropped off pretty much exactly where Fernando got dropped off. I think we came from maybe a little bit further back. Roger Klug had a puncture. I think I can't remember if it was the last lap or second last lap, which wasn't ideal, and then he had to come back, and so we're kind of waiting in the middle of the bunch for him. So that kind of left our run to get to the front a little bit later, and yeah, I just waited for them to eventually get there, and we got there I think inside the last K. So I think as far as strength goes, then they're definitely comparable. But I think today we were maybe like a little bit too late. But yeah, I think they're definitely on par.
At the conclusion of the press conference, the riders were whisked away, and everybody from riders to staff and even a few fans jumped in their cars, drove to Ventura, spent the night, and got ready for the next day. So coming up after the break, stage 2 and a little bit about what riders like to eat during a stage race. Is your bicycle in need of repair? Have you had a bad experience at your local bike shop? VeloFix might be the alternative. VeloFix is a mobile bike shop on wheels, and what they do is they go to your home as well as your work, and they'll work on your bike right in front of you. They also carry an assortment of soft goods such as tires and tubes, and will get your bike ready for that next event. VeloFix is often seen at many bike races, but can also be seen driving around in case you need them. VeloFix will have a quick turnaround time, friendly service, and they'll go to great lengths to make sure you're a return customer. They are featured in almost every major city in the United States, and their base is growing. VeloFix is a major bike shop on wheels, and what they have inside those vans is just about everything that the bike shops carry. If they can't do it, nobody will. Check them out at velofix.com. The morning of stage 2 gave myself and Lauren the photographer a chance to get out there on our own bikes and get the legs moving. One thing people don't realize is that cyclists make the worst walkers, and standing all day long on your feet running around takes its toll. Once in Ventura, we got on our own bicycles and went for an easy spin up and down the coast. After that, we got ready to check out stage 2. And before that, and throughout the race, we talked to some of the riders about what they like to eat, as well as what they had for breakfast.
I had some scrambled eggs, some oatmeal, and a few pieces of bread.
Might have some cookies my wife made special for the trip, so
Nice.
get into those. I think they're chocolate chip peanut butter oatmeal.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
We'll see what they prepare for us. Probably we'll be running low on sugar after a stage like this, where you have short but very intense effort. So it will be rather something sweet, I hope.
Maybe a chocolate chip cookie.
Really? Chocolate chip cookie?
Yeah,
You're the
if I can get my
second
hands on
person to
one.
say that today. So 2 for 2 for the chocolate chip
All right.
cookies.
I probably won't be able to have what I'm craving after today's stage, because tomorrow's a day where I've got to be pretty much in peak form. So, I mean, I can tell you what I'll have at the end of the race in Sacramento. Probably just burger, beer, Dairy Queen, cookie dough blizzard. Yeah.
Favorite.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'll probably just smash a few OT recovery drinks after today's stage, and then hopefully they'll have a Chipotle burrito on the bus.
gotta love
But
Chipotle.
yeah,
You're
don't tell
Cali.
anyone that.
All right, thanks. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
You know what? When I get to Sacramento, it'd be nice to get a real American burger and a nice cold beer.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out, California, isn't it?
Yeah.
In-N-Out burger. All right.
In-N-Out Burger. It's
No
the place
worries.
to be.
I'm going to do that.
All right, thanks,
That's
Matthew.
it. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
I had oatmeal, eggs, maple syrup, and almond butter together as one,
All
as
in
one
mixed
dish, yes,
together.
which gets some funny looks, but
Wow.
that's my go-to every race day.
Yeah, definitely made the most of those bagels that were on offer and the berries as well. So
I think what everyone else did, since we're all eating at the same place. But yeah, some oatmeal, eggs, threw in a couple pancakes in there. Definitely did my room brew coffee.
Before we got to the riders of the day, the Tour of California has a lot of people behind them, including some fantastic riders. We got to speak with Justin Williams, who's a SoCal staple and wins just about every race he enters. He's arguably the fastest person who's not doing the Tour of California.
Yeah, I was like, so please move.
I'm here with Justin Williams, considered to be the most dominant crit racer, and not just in SoCal, but in the nation. We're here at Stage 2 of Tour of California in Ventura. How's it going today?
Yeah, it's going good, man. It's like really great to be out here with ASOS and, just as an ambassador for them and giving back to my sponsors that support me so well.
Is it weird kind of being at a bike race and not being racing in it, or?
Yeah, it is weird. I've been in this position on multiple occasions where I just love being helpful, and I love trying different dynamics and tactics to kind of give back to my sponsors. So it's it is weird, and definitely seeing the guys that I race with a lot ride by and go like, what are you doing? Why are you not here? It's different, but it's good. It's something that doesn't really bother me at all. It doesn't like rub me the wrong way. I know a lot of guys just can't be at bike races if they're not racing.
Right. And what are your plans for the rest of the year in terms of cycling?
Yeah, I have some obligations with a Rocket Espresso. But other than that, I'm just kind of freelancing and doing the races that I want that are going to be good for me, that I think are going to give really good exposure to my sponsors. So I have a race in London coming up. I think it's called Nocturne. And I'm going to go out a week early to kind of climatize. And there's another race called the Thunder Crit out there. So I have maybe, I have a little bit of a break now. Just going to recuperate, try to get the fitness back up, and then head over to London. And then after that, I'm still deciding. I could either go to Pennsylvania and do some track stuff and kind of get back to my roots, or I could go straight over to Tour of America's Dairyland and maybe have a look at that Super Prime again.
Last question. You and Sagan in a CBR, and it comes down to you two out of the last corner. Do you think you could take it?
I think anyone out of the last corner of a CBR, I'd take it.
Awesome. Congrats, man. It's good to see you. Thanks so much.
That's SoCal's own Justin Williams, working with the fine people at ASOS for the Tour of California. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but if I had to put my money between Justin Williams and a Sagan in a CBR, my money's on Justin Williams. One thing to pay attention to prior to a stage is how eager, calm, and collected the riders are before the stage. Most people would be nervous wrecks, but these pros have done it so many times it comes second nature. The hard thing is to talk to them after the stage. The last thing they want to do is talk to somebody like me, and they want to get straight home, straight to the team car, and on to the next stage. But we caught up with some of the riders before stage 2, considerably the biggest day in the Tour of California. BMC team rider New Zealander Patrick Bevan is not really known as a climber, but rather a great support rider who really can time trial when he needs to. We talked to him right at the start.
It's good. It's a beautiful place to start a bike race, and the Tour of California gets pretty serious. Try and keep your prep the same, but no real superstitions or anything. Kind of just get on with it. I don't get too hung up and stuff like that. So, but more it's just about having the same, trying to get your timing the same every day with your meals and your food and kind of what you eat, and so you feel pretty much the same every day.
And how are you looking to finish today?
Good, here to work for the team today. We've got a couple of guys here ready for the overall with TJ and Brent, so it's going to be about fearing them into the bottom of the climb best possible case, and seeing how it plays out.
One of the co-captains on BMC is Brent Bookwalter, an American who's very familiar with this Gibraltar climb. We were with him at the finale of our Season 1 podcast episode where we stayed with them during a team training camp specifically for this stage. We got to talk to him before the start.
So last time we were here, we were at the training camp with Al and the crew, and now we're back, Gibraltar. How's it going to look for today?
Yeah, we're just down the road, actually. I think we rode Gibraltar last week, and it was nice to ride it again in the sun. When I was back at that camp last January, we were riding it in the fog and the rain, and it was cold winter. So yeah, it's everyone knows it's a big decisive GC day, and the strong guys will come to the fore on that climb.
And then, do you have any sort of race day sort of superstitions that you stick with every single time, or don't?
I've been doing it too long to have those. Those are too inefficient. I gotta shed all the unnecessary bulk that I can, and really a little bit of visualization and mental work. And
so you don't put your socks on a special way on race day. You just make it happen.
No time for that.
Australia's Jai Hindley of Team Sunweb is one of the younger GC riders of the Tour of California. He's only 21 years old, but he's got some serious climbing talent. He was looking forward to the Gibraltar climb at the end of the stage.
Welcome to stage 2 at Tour of California. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty excited. Looks like a pretty tough day, and sun's shining, so it's a nice day.
And then, do you have any sort of pre-race, superstitions that you stick with every time you pin on a number, like something you do every time at the start?
Yeah, I only ever put the numbers on the morning of the race.
You don't put it on before?
Yeah. Well, I can't do it here because they're only getting them the morning of the race anyway, so...
Okay, and you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Every time?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. How are you looking to finish on today's stage?
Oh, yeah, let's see how it goes. I mean, we came here like looking for stages, so just play it by ear and, yeah.
Quick Step Floors Pro Cycling Team is arguably the best classics team in the world. They sent a squad to the Tour of California, and we caught up with Kasper Asgreen of Denmark.
Hard race, hard finish climb. Mainly, I think everything is going to come down to Gibraltar Road today. It's going to make the difference.
Do you think it's going to stay together until then, or do you think people are going to try and get ahead of the climb?
No, for sure, a breakaway is going to go, and I think there's also a chance it's going to be a quite big group because a lot of people want to get up there. So we see how the start goes and try to be up there if a big group goes.
I've always wondered what it's like for a sprinter going through a severe mountain stage. I talked to two of the best sprinters in the world, Caleb Ewan of Mitchelton Scott and Fernando Gaviria of edX Quick Step Floors. Both of them want the green jersey, but they had to get through the Gibraltar climb first.
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, it's not a stage for me to go for, but we've got a good team here for GC also with Adam, so we'll be going for him.
And then in terms of you hanging on to the jersey, what's going to be your tactic for today?
To be honest, there's not much of a tactic because, like we said, it's a hilltop finish. There's not much I can do, but I'll just be trying to save as much energy as possible for tomorrow.
How's the stage going to go for you today?
Oh, it's one really hard stage, but okay, we try. We have two climber riders, and I try take the position for the plus and for Narvaez. But after when I start the climb, I go my rhythm with my teammates and go to the finish line.
Are you going to try to win Lotro stages?
Yes, for sure. I wait. Maybe tomorrow is also one good stage, but wait to today. Today is really hard, but I try to stay in front for my teammates, and then I come to the finish line.
Okay, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
With the majority of the riders heading to the start line to get ready for a big day in the saddle, race announcers Dave Towell and Brad Schoner pump up the crowd, play some music, have the national anthem sung, and have our opening ceremonies and kick off the stage from Ventura to the top of Gibraltar.
And now, let's bring up a man who rode on the 2011 Tour de France winning team. He's been on the podium, the final podium at the Amgen Tour of California and the USA Pro Challenge. Racing out of Asheville, North Carolina, vis-a-vis Michigan for BMC Racing, the collegiate cycling superstar. This is Brent Bookwalter. And we can now drop the ropes and welcome the rest of our field to the line here as we are now moments from hitting out for stage 2 of the Amgen Tour of California here in beautiful Ventura. As we count them back from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go! Way to go, everybody! Stage 2 of the 2018 Amgen Tour of California is underway. We're going 98 miles.
The reality is, it's very, very difficult to not be excited about a start of a stage. But the riders have almost 100 miles of racing ahead of them, so nobody's going to be shooting out after the gun. It's a very calm and controlled neutral rollout for several miles, and then the real racing begins. However, it's always exciting to see race announcers try and liven up the crowd and bring cycling to the fans from every city they go to. What Lauren and I did was took a little bit of downtime. We tried to process everything that we talked to and talked about, and we sat down and really figured out our strategy. It's a long stage and it's point to point, so it doesn't come back to where we started. We ended up going and getting some food because we were starving, and then after that, we went to the designated media pickup center. What's great about Tour of California is they had a designated shuttle service that took anyone from media or VIP up through the Gibraltar climb, which is about 8 kilometers and at 8% pitching up to as high as 20% grade. The only way to get to the top is either through those shuttles, which they were very tight with security about, or ride your bike up yourself. And the coolest thing was, as we were going up this climb on a newly paved road, there were so many devoted cyclists riding up the same exact road that they would be seeing their favorite riders go on. What's great is these riders had taken the day off from work. It was a Monday. They were wanting to see maybe just a couple seconds of the riders go by. And then after that, they had to ride all the way back down carrying their own water and their own sort of support. What's great is after this stage, the final GC was decided by Egan Bernal, who basically soloed from the last part of Gibraltar all the way up to the top. He was led out by teammate Theo Guggenhardt, who's a former Axion rider, who basically pulled the rest of the riders around once they hit the final slopes of the Gibraltar climb. It was a group that got down to about less than 7 or 8 people, and then the Colombian 21-year-old Egan Bernal took off and nobody could stay with him. It was interesting too, because after the stage, nobody really knew who he was, but he's a rider that's going to be riding the Tour de France and could possibly follow in Chris Froome's footsteps. When Lauren and I were at the top, we didn't really have much place to go. Your phone service is dead. You don't get any reception on any device. And we ended up staying in one of the VIP tents because it was really hot and sunny. Sunscreen was a major priority for the day. And we actually watched the race feed live on some of the flat screen TVs they had inside the tents. With about 5 or 4K to go, we actually walked on the course past the finish line and then waited for the riders to come through. Bernal came through, and then it was Rafael Micah, and then of course Yates from Mitchelton Scott, and then all the rest of the riders, including their gruppetto. Once they did that, we walked around and tried to get any interviews we could. A mountaintop finish is a difficult thing for many people. The riders are exhausted, and probably the last thing they want to do is talk to journalists. Also, they have very, very tight security at the top, and the rolling caravan has to go through the finish line of all the team vehicles, support vehicles, as well as course marshals, and keep going through the finish. Meanwhile, the podium is happening as riders are still coming in. Meanwhile, I'm walking around with Lauren and we're trying to talk to riders, and it's a very, very interesting type of controlled chaos, one that I think that if you're a seasoned investigative journalist, you're going to do well at. But for us, we were a little bit of fish out of water, but nonetheless, we got a couple interviews, starting off with Matthias Frank of AG2R, who was the first rider that we talked to. He had high hopes of finishing, at least podiuming in the stage as a GC rider, but he was exhausted at the finish line.
Matthias, how'd the stage go for you today?
Can't talk yet.
Were you able to stay all the way until the very end?
Yeah, not quite. I was when Bernal put in his attack, I had nothing to respond to it. So
were you just on the tail end of that group, or tried to make an attack?
I was just missing a little bit, so just had to try to follow as long as possible.
How much time do you think you lost up there?
I have no idea. A few seconds.
Okay.
Or a bit more than a few seconds for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were pulling for you. Great job today. What are you looking for tomorrow, just in terms of tomorrow's results?
I think tomorrow will be a different stage. We'll see. I hope to be up there again, and we'll see.
How does this climb compare to the climbs in Europe you're used to doing?
It's a super hard climb.
Yeah.
12 Ks is also really long, so it's a tough one for sure.
All right, thank you, Matthias.
Thank you.
American favorite Peter Stetina of the Trek Segafredo team was exhausted, lumped over his handlebars at the end of the finish. We caught up with him and tried to get in a few words.
Peter, how do you feel after today? How's it feel to be on sort of this climb, and you're used to doing sort of mostly climbs overseas? How did today stack up for you?
Oh, it was fast. I just didn't. I haven't raced in a while, and I could feel the lack of race rhythm with an easy day all day and then just an explosive final. And
did you feel that the pace was just too strung out at the base? By mid.
Yeah, I went into the red a little bit early, and without that race rhythm, I couldn't recover under load as well. So I was in trouble with about 4K to go. But I fought till the end. The boys, they believed in me, and it's just it's a pretty devastating case of the Mondays.
That's true. You looking forward to tomorrow?
I don't know. Well, day by day right now.
Great job out there. We saw you pull off when your job was done. How did you fare the rest of?
When I exploded, not when the job was done.
Did you?
Looked like he went well enough on his own.
Have you done this climb before?
No.
And how does it compare with the ones you've done in Europe?
It goes uphill. Gets the heart rate up. I mean, any hill's gravity's the determining factor, not the hill. Really, it's a bastard for sure.
Did you expect, was that sort of the plan for the Mitchelton Scott team to sort of be at the front and then relinquish as needed?
Yeah. I don't know if any of us actually had seen that run in before to the bottom of Gibraltar. I certainly hadn't. We saw some photos, as you do, and the modern age, the old Google Map recon.
The Strava.
Yeah. It was tricky.
Yeah, I mean, it gets
dirty little corners, sandy corners, and quite tricky. And of course, the step ladder at the foot of the climb that put a lot of people in trouble, including me.
What's your sort of plan as the race progresses?
Just to support Yatesy.
Okay.
As he builds towards July, and hopefully run a good GC here, and of course, Ewan. That's probably my primary goal. Being a bigger fella, to support you and pull the sprint. It was a good result from yesterday. Mm-hmm. Pity to miss out on the win by such a close margin, but Gaviria and the boys in blue, they're hard to beat.
Well, there's some talk after that stage too. People weren't playing nice at the sprint, so that's
you don't often see people play nice in sprints these days.
That's true.
And when you get a young fella like the young kid from Exion, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
he went over this morning and apologized to the team bus, which is the right thing to do. But.
It shows grit and it shows balls, So I think big ups to him for that. Maybe look whose wheel you're trying to take next time, but I mean, that's sprinting these days.
Right. Well, hey, congrats on doing a great stage today.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks.
That is New Zealand powerhouse rider Jack Bauer. He's a big guy, but he's super strong, and he can be seen really at the front of the peloton towing the pack around. He's got amazing power, but of course he's not a pure climber or a pure sprinter, but he's a total workhorse and an all-around rider, not to mention a fan favorite. Like he was saying earlier, he pulled up until the base of Gibraltar and literally pulled over to the side and may have even put his foot down because he was exhausted. Obviously, he was working for Yates to get to a good position at the base of the climb, but guys like him are the unsung heroes of the peloton for sure. Another rider we talked to, a fan favorite, EF Education First Draft Pack presented by Cannondale rider, that is a mouthful, Alex Howes, was at the top of Gibraltar as well. Again, he was one of the riders of that training camp of our Season 1 podcast finale. We talked to him at the top of the slopes.
How are you feeling after today? How'd the stage go for you?
Oh, it was a little warm, but yeah, I think overall we did pretty well. I don't exactly know where our Colombian Martinez came in, but he was somewhere up there. So.
Were you working during the day to sort of set him up to be at the front when it sort of went crazy?
Yeah, we wanted to keep he and Lawson out of the wind all day, and yeah, we came into the end. I think we did that pretty well, and then we came into the final climb with him, right up there with the hitters. So.
At what point did you lose contact with the main group?
Oh, I swung off at the bottom there, maybe 600 meters into the hill.
Now, you did this training camp back with Al in Santa Barbara when we were there. Did that help for today?
I totally forgot that we went up Gibraltar during that training camp.
Well, it was cold. It was in the winter. It was freezing cold.
It kind of came back to me about halfway up. I was like, oh, man, I did this. And, yeah, when we did it, we couldn't see more than 15 feet in front of us.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Andrea, how did the stage go for you today?
This is yours.
Sorry?
How did the stage go for you today?
Good. I mean, we work for Rafa and nothing more. I mean, this is the first stage where the classification.
Have you done this climb before, the Gibraltar?
No.
How does it compare to back home in Europe?
Climb is a climb. Actually, no, it's hard climb, and yeah, was hard stage anyway. I mean, also, I think for me, for our group, it's normal, always the same. I mean, climb is climb, suffering.
How are you looking forward to the rest of the race for you?
I would say tomorrow would be a good day.
That is Italian rider Daniel Oss of the Bora Hansgrohe team. He's one of the taller riders of the peloton, so he can be easily distinguished. He is, of course, a workhorse, just like Jack Bauer for his team as well, and he was able to get his job done and work for his GC man, Rafael Maica. After that, I really tried to get Peter Sagan to talk to me, and it was a task and a half. He was, I think, aware that I was trying to talk to him, and as you may know, as you've seen him in interviews, he's very hard to interview. He didn't say much, but I decided to put in what he said anyways.
Peter, how do you feel after the stage today?
Very good, thank you.
Why are you boss?
I'm okay.
What do you need? A jacket?
Oh.
40 minutes if you ride across, 40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Yes.
And you need also your drink?
Ja już to można nie dam.
What are you eating? Gummy bears?
Sugars.
Und den Drink?
And that is all he gave me. Interesting note, he did have a mouthful full of those Haribo gummy bears he's gotten famous for, and not only him, but several of his teammates were eating them as well. Just minutes after all the chaos at the top of Gibraltar, it was pretty much deserted again. The fans rode down the mountain. We, along with other journalists and staff members, got on the shuttles and headed down the mountain. The riders were all in their team cars by then and headed towards the next stage. And just like that, it was over. A couple of takeaways. First of all, we only covered 2 stages. We would have liked to cover a lot more, if not the entire race, but it was a little bit logistically impossible. But there's some really key things that if you weren't there, a couple of things to note. First of all, the fans are just amazing. They are so devoted. A lot of them are cyclists themselves, and this is the one time a year that they get to see some of their favorite World Tour riders in person. Most of the time, they're used to seeing them on TV or on the internet, watching the Tour de France and other classics races. So this is the first time they got to see them. The fans were really excited, along with the people that really put this race together. There was an army of staff and volunteers that really made this operation run smooth. There were so many people going on, it became a logistical equation that only the smartest people could figure out, and we were just a small component of it. For us personally, SoCal Cyclist, it was great to see so many people recognizing me as I was walking down through the venue amongst the riders. So many people either recognized my voice or came up to me and said, "Hey, I listened to the podcast." And that's great, because a lot of the times, after I hit stop on this microphone and just send, I don't really get to see the people who listen. Of course, I just look at the statistics and the numbers and things like that. But in terms of seeing people, meeting them face to face, it's always a great thing. And it sort of reaffirms that, people out there are listening. It's great to know that. Lastly, one of the things that we did in addition to this specific episode for the Tour of California is we went and created a photojournal style essay. Like I said, we have the photographer, Lauren Diaz, who came along, who took fantastic photos of the race, up close personal of the riders, myself interviewing certain people, a little bit of the race action. And what we did is we put it up on the SoCal Cyclist website under a new page called Stories. What you can do is go to socalcyclist.org, click on the blog, go to Stories, and you'll find all the action from stages 1 and 2 in there. It was fantastic, and she did a great job, so check it out for more information on the race. And lastly, in the case of mistaken identity with that rider, I went up to the United Healthcare squad at the top of Gibraltar and mistakenly talked to one of the riders I thought was someone else. It turns out I was talking to Johnny Clark of Australia on the UHC team and thought he was one of the riders in the breakaway of the Gibraltar stage, Gavin Mannion. I totally screwed up, and for that I apologize, but underneath all the Lycra and the same helmets and the same glasses, it's easy to mistake some of the riders. So I do apologize, but we set the record straight, and he took it in stride. So that is our episode. What do you think? Let us know. Reach out to me, Brian at SoCalCyclist.org if you want to shoot out an email, or if you want to go on Instagram, it's at SoCal_cyclist, as well as Twitter. And then, of course, we have our Facebook page, SoCal Cyclist Podcast. It was an amazing experience, and we look forward to next year's experience as well. It was something that you have to experience in person. I mean, yes, you can watch the race and the rest of the stages on TV, but when you're there in person, and many of you were, you really got to absorb the experience and the action. So, a couple of upcoming things. Looks like we have the Tour de France coming up, of course, in July. Go ahead and place your bets and take your picks. Is Froome going to take it? Who knows? We will see. But we're about a month and a half away from the Tour, and I cannot wait for that race to happen. It should be wide open and exciting. But hey, this Tour of California and Egan Bernal is a rider for the future. So on behalf of everybody, especially Lauren Diaz, who came alongside and took pictures and did so much behind the scenes work, I really thank her for that. But until next time, this is Brian Coe for Lauren Diaz and all of the riders that we talked to saying, respect the wave.